It did it again. Okay,
Yeah.
technology, it likes to give us the middle finger.
Like Watsy
Yep.
Fuck the Watsy.
and Puck Technology.
I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra. We are back in Valley of the Judged. With me, of course, is our three-eyed liquid walk and master of dad jokes, good brother Joe.
Hello, everyone.
And our sky pirate, who sadly does not have as cool of an eye patch as Vice, good brother Sizer.
I mean, who could? And by the way, Sega, come on, remaster of Skies of Arcadia win.
Oh, I know that there's that one guy who's been begging for at least 2 years for a remaster of Breath of Fire. So, we got. Although on the other hand, there is that one guy doing a Sega versus Capcom fighting game that is including Vice and is fully voiced.
Hey.
It's
nice.
It's not fully ready yet, but he's showing a lot of promise. But we are not here for that. It is the 3-in-1 rule once again. So we are back on the one-shot train. This time around, we have 2 entries. I don't think I'm going to do 3 entries like I did last Friday anytime soon. That was a extreme case. But for this one, we have 2 entries. One of them we'll be getting into shortly, that being Broken Lands. And the other is going to be Steam Build Riders. And Hydra's saying the audio and video are off sync. I'm not seeing that.
It might be hard to tell just because there tends to be a delay with Twitch.
Mm-hmm. So, and keep in mind, I've had the new headset set up for about a week. But so far I'm not seeing that. Anyway.
Oh, they say they just had to refresh.
One of our age-old axioms: refresh before bitching. So, our first one, Broken Lands, comes to us from Carlos Ferrer. And Ediciones TNT. This came out back in April, but I had to put it on the back burner, but decided to bump it up the card. Obviously I'm going into this semi-blind, and there's going to be some parts that we are going to be skimming. But let me make it so that it's on page fit. And yes, the starter adventure we're going to be skipping. But let me check something. We actually have bookmarks on the PDF. Nice.
Gotcha. Let's see. They look like a Spanish-speaking studio. Is that right?
Yep.
Gotcha. Did you know which continent or which country?
I think Spain, but do not quote me on that. But
Mildred said, Ediciones TNT in Spain. Got it.
But after the introduction, it goes into that this is a sword and sorcery RPG. A world shaped by religious strife and the ambitions of gods, facing secret cults and conspiracies, demons and automatons, forgotten ruins, deceitful pacts, moral dilemmas, and beings from other planes. Being focused on the eternal struggle between law and chaos. So, a very Morkakian approach. And in fact, they outright
Yeah,
name drop
for sure.
Michael Moorcock, as well as Jack Vance and Fritz Lieber.
Yeah, Lieber. I've read the most of Lieber of the Swords and Sorcery authors, and it definitely feels. I could definitely see the parallels here.
Mm-hmm. And with Vance, I've mostly read Lyonese and the Dying Earth books. And it will always be eternally funny to me that the actual Dying Earth TTRPG doesn't use the Vancian model as we know it.
So what I'm kind of expecting to see here then is like, tough characters dealing with morally gray situations.
Mm-hmm. But the 3 kinds of die you're going to be using, it looks to be D6, D10, D20. And the plan is to because this has been in Spanish for a while with several expansions, and we'll be bringing itself into English through a crowdfunding campaign at some point in 2026. But first, they go into the world, and a lot of this I'm going to be skimming, but I'd say one of the big points to focus on is we're essentially in a post-war kind of setting.
Like the big war has happened. There's all kinds of like weird magical weapons and automata still roaming around out there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a deal. Maybe rents in the fabric of space time.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Just spitballing here.
Mm-hmm. And it is important to note that law and chaos does not necessarily mean good and evil.
Well, I certainly hope not. I'd much rather, kind of deal with another dichotomy than because we see that so often, right? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but exploring something new and interesting sounds fun.
Yeah, in fact, since it's bringing up Moorcock, I can state both law and chaos are can be different flavors of asshole.
Ain't that the truth?
Mm-hmm. But it's the existence and dichotomy of the two that drives a lot of the setting, whether it be the faiths of law and chaos, whether it be the the Church of Law and the Cult of Chaos, or the way they see magic, the way demons end up working, which depending on where you factor into that, you may see as a boon or a bane, as well as the idea of a cosmic equilibrium, the balance, and the agenda of the gods, for whom belief is essentially food.
Is there like a model that's based on? That's a fairly common thing in like polytheistic, role playing games or fantasy worlds where the gods need belief in order to stay gods. Is there a particular name for what of that setup?
I don't think there is, or at the very least, I haven't found one. The earliest incarnation that I saw of that concept was in some of the Discworld novels I had read, especially stuff like Hogfather Knight.
Yeah,
gotta love the Hogfather.
Where Heataime is hired to kill the Hogfather, and has talked about it as purely as a hobby that he has thought about ways to kill death.
How do you kill
And
that
in
which does
strange
not
eons,
die?
even death may die.
Uh, though his methodology of trying to take out the Hogfather wasn't one that involved any sort of weapon, because that would never work, but rather a elaborate scheme involving a wizard he roped into his schemes and the vault of the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, that sounds
Because-
like this world, all right.
Because what better way to perform voodoo on the entire human race, or like, all sentient beings, than to collect teeth from all of them, right?
Indeed, indeed.
The whole of it was the Tooth Fairy has a vault with every tooth that it has ever collected, and there was already a hint that if you get like somebody's hair or toenail clippings, you can exert control over them. Contagious magic, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So his solution is to go to that vault and use the teeth there to get people to stop believing in the Hogfather.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to the heart of the matter, after going into the setting, we go into system proper. We have now there are two main characteristics. There are the characteristics, which is the first major value, and skills.
Ace.
The three characteristics are body, mind, and spirit. The ways
That sounds familiar.
the ways that characteristics will work is calculating the basis for skill groups as well as characteristic roles. For humans, characteristic values range from 4 to 8, the average being a 6. Some animals or creatures may have a higher or lower score. And when it comes to skills, it's what you know how to do. For humans, the typical range for skills is 3 to 18. 3 being minimal knowledge, 18 being exceptional mastery. The skills are divided into groups: culture, agility, etc. And each group of skills has a base. This reflects the innate capabilities in the use of that skill. The initial score in a skill is the base of the group to which it belongs. When a character uses a skill in which they have no experience, they will count at least the base. So essentially, your characteristics act as a floor for your skill checks.
Okay, and how do you level up those skills then?
That is something I think we'll get to as we go into this. But each skill has a level score from 0, no experience at all, to 10, a master. An average professional usually has a level of 4 to 5.
Interesting.
It does. What that does give me the vibe of is that it's not doing some sort of unskilled penalty. I guess because not getting the skill bonus is punishment enough.
Which I appreciate.
I ended up having the same rationale for not putting some sort of penalty for doing skill rolls untrained. It's like, you're already going to be rolling lower than somebody who would be trained, so why should I double down on punishing? But you can develop specializations in skills. If a specialty applies, you get a +2 bonus to the skill roll. So essentially, these are focuses. You can use up to
Mhm.
2 specialties simultaneously for a total of +4. So
Wait, if a professional is like what did you say, 3 to 4 or 4 to 5?
4 to 5.
4 to 5. So that means you're like average layperson who has like some knowledge of it would just be like a 1 or 2.
Potentially.
Interesting.
Oh.
Interesting.
And obviously, there's no stat when it comes to specialties. You either have it or you don't.
Hmm.
But the essence of the system is the skill roll. When you're taking an action, and it's important to determine whether it's successful or not, you roll 1d10 and add the result of the score to the skill. You're doing an aim high approach. So 10 is easy, 15 is medium, 20 is hard, 25 is very hard. If you roll a 10, the die explodes.
Ooh.
Noise.
Boom.
So, for those who aren't familiar with exploding die, you roll it again, add the previous result. If that is also a 10, you do it again, and you keep doing it until you roll something that isn't a 10.
Oh. So it's not filling the dice with nitroglycerin. Good to know. Good to know, yeah.
I mean, it could be if you were. I mean, why not do both? Why not both?
Ah, yes. The dice will only explode when you roll a 10.
That sounds like the plot to Speed 2.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I was thinking more along the lines of like a D&D themed Batman villain.
Ooh.
So, the Riddler.
I don't think he does much with dice.
I mean, if you consider a D2, then Two-Face, right?
Right. If Two-Face decided to go above binary, yes.
Yeah.
I went with the Riddler because if there's anybody who I feel like would try and be a DM, it's him. Just to showcase how much smarter he is than everyone else.
Yeah, he would be like the most adversarial, abusive DM that you ever had the displeasure to game with.
Guys,
Yeah, he would definitely railroad people.
he would be that guy.
Yeah.
Not that man. That man.
All right. You're on a roll tonight, Joe.
Mhm. But, of course, there is a degree of success set up. Which is... Degree of success is determined by success points, or just successes. It is just the difference between what you rolled compared to what your target number was. If you get 10 or more points of success, the result is considered a critical success. When the die rolls a natural 1, you generate a complication. In other words, a natural 1 isn't an automatic failure, and a nat 10 isn't an automatic success. I already talked about the exploding thing, but the way they describe complications, it sounds like a and but.
Interesting.
Bad position, alerting an enemy, loss of time, or damaging a piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm. As it is possible to succeed with your skill roll, but still suffer a complication. Now, if you have a skill score equal to or higher than the difficulty, then you don't even need to roll if you don't want to.
I do
so go ahead.
appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Could be fun. But you know, if you just need to get this check out of the way, that could be nice. But if you really want to do well, I mean, you're trying your luck, because it could be a complication or it could be a crit.
Yep. So then we have opposed rolls, which is self-explanatory. Both sides roll. The one with the higher result wins. The success points is based on the difference. If it's a tie, whoever is in a passive or defensive position wins. If that doesn't apply, no one wins. If the narrator wishes, they can speed up the game by turning an opposed roll into a fixed roll, just adding 5 to the opponent's skill. Then we have extended rolls, which are all about doing multiple rolls that require a certain number of success points in order to be achieved. And, of course, collaboration, which, depending on the skill rating, provides a collaboration bonus, ranging from no bonus if it's a skill of 0 to 5, to +4 if the skill is 21. Though, given what was mentioned about base and skill, the skill column here I think is referencing that formula in its total, not just how many points you have in a skill. So the only way you wouldn't be able to give somebody a bonus is if you're really, really, really bad.
In which case, understandably, you have nothing to contribute because you don't have any knowledge of the skill.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yep. Of course, sometimes a characteristic might apply instead of a skill. In that situation, it's resolved the same way as skill rolls. The only difference is that the difficulty threshold changes. Easy is 9, medium is 12, hard is 15, very hard is 18. Which makes sense since it's D10 plus your ability instead of your ability plus skill. But in addition, we have fate points, which is, I'd say, going to be the extra effort mechanic.
Maximum effort.
Mm-hmm. Which fate points can be used in a few ways. First off, with objects. If it's something that is particularly useful to the character, it can be used in that form. If a favorable change of scenery occurs, the character happening to notice a piece of useful information, or one or more people appearing in the scene. So fate points, based on how they're described here, could be considered a kind of edit button. Since it says by using them, they momentarily take the role of the narrator, changing the events in the story. That definitely
it's
sounds
a little
like...
bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like a little. Given to the player.
Mm-hmm.
The cool story, bro, but
Mm-hmm. But then we also have fortune, which is on one hand used to make fortune rolls, and on the other hand is a currency that can be spent to improve your chances. This is where we have our actual extra effort mechanic. Fortune caps out at your spirit. You start the game with half of your max.
Okay.
Now, in some cases,
looky, it's me.
Yep. In some cases, you'd roll fortune as if it was a characteristic. On the other hand, you can spend a fortune point to do a few things. One of them is to repeat a roll. I spend a fortune point, and you can do a redo.
So advantage, basically.
On the other hand, you can spend 2 fortune points to roll 2d10 in a skill or characteristic roll, and add the 2 die together. Each 10 explodes as normal, and each 1 means a complication. If you are weakened, you roll 2d6 instead. This double roll cannot be repeated. And fortune points do not regenerate by themselves, but are a reward for use in character guidelines, i.e., proper role play gets you fortune points.
I always love it when the system itself rewards for roleplay.
Mm-hmm.
But the GM has misfortune points, which work in the same way and can be used to support NPCs. They have a number of
Wow,
these
that's
equal to the number of player characters. And at the end of each session, any unused misfortune is lost.
what's that? Y'all want to be murder hobos in this carefully crafted town I made? Well, sure, but there's gonna be misfortune.
Yeah. The guide adventurers have what is known as guidelines, which can be a sort of guide rail for the kind of role playing that gets you fortune points. These can be motivation, a lie, which is an interesting entry, as well as passions and personality traits. Now, obviously, I don't expect a quick start to have people make up these guidelines on their own, but I do hope in the full book there's guidance on the individual guidelines and where the line is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it doesn't fall into the same trap as, I know I keep bringing this up, but it keeps applying, aspects in Fate.
Mm-hmm.
But then we go into damage and injuries. During the game, you may sustain injuries from combat, accidents, or other hazards. This is measured in damage points, which takes away from your life points. Your character's life points is 12 plus your strength characteristic. Depending on the amount of damage points inflicted, an injury can be classified as either a minor wound or a major wound. A major wound occurs when a single injury inflicts damage points equal to or greater than half your maximum. When you suffer a major wound, you are weakened. A minor wound is anything less than that. It has no direct effect beyond the LP loss it causes. And of course, you run out of life points, you're incapacitated.
Yeah, I like that. It's not like knocked out. You know, it's not completely KO'd because you still have a small amount of agency if you're incapacitated.
Mm-hmm. And you can now, as player characters, you do have a bit of a protection from outright death, but you can renounce this protection if you so choose, in exchange for a last-ditch effort at survival. When you suffer a wound, you may mark the death risk checkbox. By doing so, the damage points sustained after applying any protection are halved. In this way, they can prevent an injury that might compromise your chances of victory. From this moment on, you are vulnerable to death. If your LP is reduced to 0, you die. The death risk checkbox is immediately cleared at the end of a scene once the character is safe and able to rest. That is an interesting way to do the whole death save concept.
Yeah, I like that there's so many little aspects of this game that add extra agency for the players, right? Or like give you kind of a risk reward mechanic that like this one seems to. But it's up to the player whether they want to take that risk.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yep. Even so,
Indeed.
now the reason why you'd want to try and avoid at least a major wound is when you're inflicted with one, you suffer the weakened state. While weakened, you roll 1d6 instead of 1d10 for skill and characteristic rolls. In that way, when it's done that way, a natural 1 is a critical failure, and a 6 is an exploder.
Hmm.
Also, Joe, I think I'm getting an echo from you.
Me?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be. Let me try to fix that.
But when it comes to healing, you can use the first aid skill on a wound up to 2 hours after it occurs. You can only make one roll on this skill per wound. The difficulty is 10 for minor wounds and 15 for major wounds. A success means the wound is reduced by 1 damage point. A critical reduces it to 2. For natural healing to begin, the wound needs to be stabilized. And this can be done in 3 ways. 1. If the wound has received successful first aid, it is considered stabilized. 2. Once per day, the wound can be treated and stabilized by a medicine roll. And 3. If no medical treatment is received or is not successful, the character can make a body roll at difficulty 12 for minor wounds and 15 for major. They can try that once a day. When the wound is stabilized, the natural healing process begins. Mark the healing checkbox in the character sheet and reduce the wound by 1 DP per day. Note that different injuries are treated and healed separately. When a wound heals and reduces its damage points, the character gets an equivalent amount of life points. In addition, as a wound reduces in magnitude, it changes in type. A major wound that heals to below half the half LP threshold becomes a minor one. When all major wounds heal, the weakened state ends. I guess that's why they made such a distinction between damage points and life points. I'm guessing you're going to be tracking that when we look at the character sheets.
Hmm.
Which, that is an interesting approach. Oh. But you also have load, which is basically going to be your carrying capacity.
Don't love that. Don't love that.
So the sum of the load of all the objects carried by the character is their total load. Ones that have a load of 0.3 are considered to be lightweight and easy to carry and should not be taken into account. If it exceeds your character's strength, you suffer a load penalty of -2, which applies to skills only in the agility group. If it's twice your strength, you maintain that -2 penalty and you become weakened. If the load is 3 times that, you're incapacitated. Also, if you have any load penalty, you can't swim.
Pirates have no need for swimming. We have our ships.
But then we have a bit on sorcery. The Sorcery of the Broken Lands involves transformation of the elemental principles of reality, known as spheres. Magic traditions recognize the existence of 10 spheres. Each one corresponds to a skill within the sorcery group. So we have magic as a skill, always nice to have.
Mm-hmm. And all of our magic grammar so far is just taking me back to Mage of the Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Traditions and spheres.
Yep. Each spell is linked to a sphere, the skill required to cast it, and a difficulty determined by complexity and power. The spellcaster must match or exceed the difficulty with their skill roll. If they succeed, the spell takes effect. They must also spend a number of magic points. So we're dealing with an MP system. Suck it, fancy and model. Suck it long and suck it hard. That sorcery skills have their own set of 8 specialties, which are specific ways of manipulating the spheres. Each specialty can be used with any sorcery skill. Interesting.
I like that.
Yep. In the spell descriptions, under the syntax field, the specialty that can be applied with the spell is listed alongside the sphere. For example, inhibit chaos, modify body, or augment fire. The core rulebook will have a long list of spells, but for the moment we'll stick to those known to the characters of Hearts and Masks. When a sorcerer casts a spell on a living being, whether they be person or beast, they must overcome the target's soul for the magic to take effect. This is reflected by an opposed spirit roll. If the roll goes against the sorcerer, the spell doesn't work and the MP is wasted. Now, when it comes to MP, casting a spell requires a number of MP based on the spell itself. And if a spellcasting attempt fails, 1 MP is always lost. You can, even if you are out of MP, you can still attempt to cast, but any amount in the negative is taken out of your life points. And that is a wound that cannot be treated with first aid or medicine.
Ugh. Gotta heal it on your own.
Mm-hmm. I was like, you can do it, but once again, that pattern of you can do it, but there's going to be consequences.
Yep.
But you can recover 1 MP for every 2 hours of sleep, and 1 hour of meditation regenerates 1 MP with a successful spirit roll, or 2 with a critical success. The difficulty depends on how mystical or quiet the place is. But even the magic arts have their limitations. For one, a target cannot be affected by the same spell twice if the first one is still active. 2, if the spell isn't cast on yourself, it has to be on a target you can see or feel in any other way, regardless of distance, i.e. you have to be able to detect them with one of your senses. So you don't have. It's not necessarily based on sight. You could cast based on smell, for instance, or a target that you can hear.
Yeah, I wonder if that would allow for like, a blind spellcaster or something along those lines.
I would be willing
That'd
to
be pretty
allow
cool.
that, but on the catch of if you're hearing their footsteps, that will not count.
Now I'm pulling a top and using magic to see the world around me.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
But then losing concentration. In a combat round, if a sorcerer has declared a spell but is wounded before they complete it, the spell is lost and they have to start over. No MP is lost. Hey,
Jeez, don't.
it's concentration without the bullshit.
But if you get hit at all, it seems like you, or maybe just wounded. Yeah.
Like, I like that version a lot better than like the fucking bullshit of, hey, we're giving you a class ability that requires concentration. Anyway.
Yeah. But duration is normally equal to the spellcaster's spirit, and sorry about that, my PDF reader decided to spaz out. But it can be extended with 1 extra MP. You can make the duration minutes instead of rounds, and with 2 MP, hours. This does not apply to instant spells. Also, if you cannot speak, you can still cast spells, but with a -2 penalty. If you can't move your hands, you suffer a -2 penalty as well. If you deal with both, you can still cast, but at a total of -4. So it's not a, you can't speak, you can't cast any magic. No, you can still cast it. It's just going to be harder. And this isn't the sonic screwdriver on a wooden door. Uh, Now, in principle, a spell only affects a single target, but it can be increased to an additional target per 1 MP. Uh, Spells are also cast in the slow phase of the round, so we're dealing with fate. When they talk about a slow phase, I'm thinking of the fast and slow phase in, say, Shadow of the Demon Lord, or rather, what they call the quick phase. Which means you're probably going to be casting last. And you can perform a ritual before casting a spell, which takes about 10 minutes and provides a +2 bonus. And there are potential spellcasting catastrophes. But for the purpose of this quick start, they state if you get a complication while casting a spell, you can leave the sorcerer in a weakened state for the rest of the scene. On the other hand, in the case of a critical success, you can be rewarded with an extra MP to increase the power of the spell, or the number of targets, or its duration. Or you can save that MP for later.
Always useful.
Hmm. Now, when it comes to combat, okay, we have 3 phases, not 2 like I was assuming. We have the quick phase, the regular phase, and the slow phase. So it looks like we're not doing the typical initiative approach. We're doing... People are declaring what phase they're acting in.
Oh.
Now, if there's a conflict with initiative, that can be based on agility, subtracting any load modifier. But the approach starts with declaration of intent, i.e., everyone declares what they're going to do, including the narrator for NPCs. The declaration is made in reverse order of mind. So there is something of an initiative order, but not in the usual sense. And this is done so that the more intelligent characters can decide what they want to do once they've heard what the other participants are doing. You can only do 1 action, which can be anything that could be done in 6 seconds. And could have multiple parts like running in and striking. Glad to see that's not treated as 2 separate actions, because that would be silly. But then we get to melee. Since engaging in melee consumes your action, whether you started it or not, combatants can block their enemies by attacking them and forcing them into combat. When a combatant attempts to engage another, the opponent has 3 options. Accept the melee, resolves normally. If you had a different declared action, you must cancel it. Avoid the melee. This also consumes your action. It pits the attacker's melee weapons or brawl skill against the defender's dodge skill. If the defender wins, they evade the combat and can try and escape. Otherwise, the attacker hits. Or ignore the melee, in which case the opponent can hit an isolated hit on you.
That suggests to me that you really have to... that having a few characters dedicated to engaging the other melee characters will help your spellcasters to get their actions off. Because it seems very, very risky to cast a spell while someone's trying to hit you with a sword or a club or something.
Pretty much. Now, when it comes to resolving melee, it is a opposed roll using their melee weapons or brawl skills. The one who wins the roll hits their enemy. If they tie, the combat is a draw for the current round. Success level affects damage. So you could engage in melee and still come out the losing end and take damage. Nice. So even melee is still a risk. But if If it's an isolated hit, you roll melee weapons or brawl at a fixed difficulty of the opponent's dodge skill. So essentially, their dodge skill plus 5. No roll is allowed for the opponent. And when it comes to multiple enemies, when 2 combatants face a single enemy, both receive a plus 2 bonus. If there's 3, it's plus 4. If there's 4, it's plus 6, and so on. You roll the die only once and compare the result with the enemy's rolls individually. So in the same melee, you could hit one adversary and be wounded by another, but you can only land 1 hit per melee. So if you win against 2 or more opponents, you have to choose which one receives the strike. So the numbers game actually has some benefit here.
Don't get cornered by the brute squad.
Mm-hmm. Oh. But when you're performing an action, whether planned or not, you are occupied for the rest of the round. So if you're attacked and forced into melee, you cannot strike or perform combat maneuvers. You can only defend yourself using melee weapons, brawl, or dodge skills. If an unoccupied character wins the opposed roll, the result is treated as a draw. So it does mean that even when you're on the defensive, you're not completely helpless. But for projectile and throwing weapons, there's no need for an opposed roll. The difficulty is fixed based on the distance. So 5 meters, difficulty 10, versus 200 meters, difficulty 30. If the target is moving, the difficulty will either be derived from the distance or the target's dodge skill, whichever is higher. Throwing weapons use the throw skill. Bows, crossbows, hand cannons, and slings use the projectile skill. Each ranged weapon has a maximum effective range. If you try and reach a target in the next higher distance range, the damage is halved. And when using a ranged weapon, you can spend 1 round aiming to get +2 on the attack roll. I do like that the damage is halved if you try and fire out of range instead of penalizing the roll to hit. Because a straight bullet is going to keep going the direction it's going until it hits something, or until gravity and air slow it down enough to where it's harmless. But practically speaking, it's going to keep going until it hits something. So remember, when you fire this gun, you are ruining someone's day at some point at some time. That is why you check your damn targets.
Indeed.
Because remember, Sir Isaac Newton is the deadliest son of a bitch in space.
What was that from? Was that... Oh, that was from Starship Troopers.
Nope, Mass Effect 2.
Mass Effect 2. Okay, yeah.
Starship Troopers was the one that gave us... The enemy cannot push a button if you disable his hand. But when protecting against ranged weapons, you do have the option of using a shield, which just doubles the shield's protection against ranged weapons if you do so. It takes place in the quick action, doesn't require a roll. Or take cover, which lets the defender make an opposed roll with the attacker using their weapon skill against the target's dodge skill, which suffers a -2.
Okay, but can I get down, Mr. President, somebody?
I would allow it, but you'd be the one taking the hit.
I mean, that would be the point.
But when it comes to impact and damage, you start with the damage of the weapon, then add the character's damage modifier. and then add the number of success points obtained from the attack roll up to a maximum of 10. I'm glad that there's that maximum, because if it given exploding dice, that could result in some wildly ridiculous amounts of damage. Subtract protection from the damage inflicted, so armor and shields is is basically giving damage reduction instead of dodge plate.
Yeah, which makes more sense anyway.
I will always make fun of the fact that plate armor somehow increases your chance to dodge.
I always just say that the hit kind of like is ineffective against the armor.
The only reason I keep making that joke is because I believe in some of the early books it talked about if you don't meet the AC, the attack is considered a miss.
Meets it, yeah, you have to go over it in order to beat it. Wait, we've had this conversation before. I know we have.
Yeah. I think we've been here before. Have we been here before?
I get that strange feeling of deja vu. You ever get that?
What feeling?
I get this strange feeling of deja vu. You ever get that?
What feeling?
And I'm gonna stop it there. As much as I love the rule of 3.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so, yeah, critical roles. Is that where we were at?
Yep. When a character achieves critical success in combat, the player decides what happens, guided by the narrator. So you can do one of the following: either execute a combat maneuver, and decide that a combat maneuver takes effect automatically, provided it is plausible. You may choose a brawl maneuver, even if you're not using the skill, or you can apply a feat.
Inconceivable.
So some of the
You keep
combat
losing that
feats.
word. Go on. We all know the rest.
Yep. Some of the combat feats that can be applied are Führer. The combatant's excellent performance boosts their morale or inspires an ally, granting a +2 to the next action. Or extra action, self-explanatory. Adrenaline, you exit the weakened state. It lasts for the current round and the next. Or information, you can ask the narrator about a question about the environment or your enemies. And Emma goes, ask O'Neill about deja vu, or ask Mr. Anderson if he's seen any black cats. But if you roll a 1, that generates a complication, in which case the narrator can either choose one of the appropriate effects, or roll a d20, or invent a new one.
You rip your pants.
We don't have that, but we have muscle cramp or strain. You suffer 1 DP. Or you drop a piece of armor, subtract 1 from protection until you recover it.
How do you drop a piece of... Never mind.
Or you hit an ally. Because remember, the only thing more accurate than enemy fire is friendly fire. But
That's why it's so friendly. It wants to be your friend. It just cozies up right next to you.
Indeed.
But when it comes to combat maneuvers, we have these are additional strategies that can be used. Depending on difficulty, a maneuver may carry a penalty. Some of them impose restrictions on the type of weapon that can be used. Combat maneuvers can be combined if common sense allows, in which case their effects add up. Apply a -2 to the roll for each additional maneuver. There will be a full list in the core rulebook, but we have a few common maneuvers here. So charge.
Thrust, parry, spin.
Yep.
Sorry.
So, yep. So charge, which is self-explanatory. Complete defense. You focus solely on defense and get a +3 to your roll to defend. Disarm.
Yeah, those two go great together. Charge and complete defense.
Mhm.
I believe that would be called the Swiss method.
I think it's full of holes.
Escaping
That
from
was a
combat.
cheesy joke.
Mm.
Okay, I'm done.
Yep.
Please continue.
Let's see. Grapple, which I like that we have a very simple approach to grapple.
Mhm.
Which it is an opposed strength roll. If you win, you can do one of 3 options. Either inflict damage equal to your success points on the opposed strength roll, ignoring protection. Apply the effect of knockdown, disarm, or shove, or improve your grapple and get a +2 to the next opposed roll to resolve the grapple. This is cumulative. When it reaches +10, the hold is impossible to break. So, a wrestling build is not far-fetched in this system.
Mm.
Let's see, we have...
Goblin, luchador.
Ooh.
Let's see, we have thrust, which if you succeed with that maneuver, you deal double damage. If the strike causes a major wound, though, the weapon is stuck.
Mm.
So charge and thrust. Understood.
Let's see, knockdown can use brawl. If you win the opposed roll, add the successes obtained to your damage modifier. If you're using a shield, you can add the shield's damage as well. If the result matches the opponent's strength, they're knocked down. If you get a critical success, you're automatically successful. But the opponent takes no damage. So, knockdown also applies with shield bashing. You can search for weakness. You can also shove. If they hit a piece of furniture, they suffer 1d3 damage points. If it's a rock or a wall, they take 1d6. If they reach the edge of a pit, they fall automatically. And remember, per the rules of fiction, if you are shot from a high place, you will fall to your death.
With a Wilhelm scream cut in
Indeed.
for good measure.
Indeed.
They have a few special situations. And then it goes right into the starter adventure, Hearts and Masks. Though, as mentioned, we'll be skipping that, and I'm jumping straight to the pre-gen characters we have.
Oh, let's take a look at the pre-gens. Yeah.
So first we have Dahlia with her
I need to go through a lot. There we go.
Yep. Although I guess it's going to show the actual stat part of the sheets later on.
Looks like it.
We do have a few examples of some of these spells.
Oh, I went right down to this sheet, so yeah, it is there.
So, like, while you're talking about the character, we can give the stat breakdown, or you can go down to the stat breakdown. We can talk about the character.
There's a lot.
We don't have to do a lot of jumping around.
Yeah, there's a lot in the stat side of things.
Holy crud! Those are the skills?
It's a lot of skills.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that many skills since the White Wolf game.
I've certainly seen more, but in this case it makes sense since skills are going to be the focus.
Yeah, they have all the combat stuff in there too. Like you got like melee weapons and various and I saw throwing in there. Yeah, throw is in there too.
I like how
Mhm.
small boats is like a skill.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That's seems out of place, honestly.
Like I kind of get it. It's like, hey, look, you know how to like row a boat or like sail a small skiff, but like not a large boat. No, no,
Mhm.
no, no. Nobody gets a large boat.
There isn't even a skill for it. It's beyond your capabilities.
Yeah. When it
Like,
comes to
what's the
the
difference between
traits part of
shadowing and stealth? What?
yeah, when it comes to the traits part of things, it looks like we're dealing with a bit of um positive and negative setup, so there could be the risk of somebody taking a min-max approach, but I have a feeling there's going to be a catch, especially since
Oh,
that
Dahlia only has a negative.
hmm. No, there are two negatives: Pact with Shador and Blessing Second Chance.
Oh no, no, no. I see under traits, not blessings. Like under traits, all she has is self-destructive tendency.
Hmm. Uh, but I am curious on the whole fealty setup, which seems to indicate the fealty setup seems to indicate that we do have the cosmic alignments. I'm assuming, obviously, law and chaos are going to be two. I wonder what the other two are going to be. We also see once again that sorcery is a skill setup, along with its own magical specialties. So we have air, earth, fire, water, body, mind, spirit, plant, chaos, and law.
Law.
Uh,
Sorry.
It just means that it just heavily influences your choice of character in the Tekken series.
mm-hmm.
Right.
That was good. Everyone, we'll try to do it. What do you mean tried? They succeeded, and it still has a dedicated following over in Brazil.
Who tried to do what?
White Wolf doing a Street Fighter RPG.
Ah, okay.
My
But
dreams of playing a Dan Hibiki-like character will still come true, dang it.
somebody already statted Dan Hibiki out.
I mean, I know, but I want to do it.
Yep. But and as I kind of hinted at, it looks like I was right. You do have to track how many damage points a given wound inflicted on you.
Yeah. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of don't love that. I get it, but I don't love it.
I feel like in this case it's there to reinforce the fact that this is going to be a highly lethal kind of game because most of the characters we've seen don't have life points beyond 20. It seems to be in the 15 to 20 range when it comes to that, and given what we saw with damage, that's going to add up quick. Okay, I take that back. Victorio here has 22 life points. And he's clearly built as the fighter or the tanky boy.
That's a word I never really expect to see in my fantasy tabletops, but there it is. Lamellar armor.
Yep. Although Victorio here may be able to go into berserker rages, but his big disadvantage is is going to be a nasty one. Vulnerable to magic.
Yes,
This
that's great. That's great.
Oh, jeez.
basically he doesn't even get an opposed spirit roll. It automatically hits.
The person before him is a old mage, literally because they have the old trait.
Yep.
And short-tempered, so you know.
Although
Get off my lawn, you stupid kids.
I do like the syntax setup when it comes to spells. It allows for a very
Oh,
easy
yes.
mix and match.
Mm-hmm.
And as mentioned, that syntax also ties into magical specialties.
Yes.
So every spell essentially is a skill effect pairing.
Mm-hmm.
That'll also make it very easy for people to come up with new spells.
I like how this one is really good with coming up with ways for the for the storyteller and the players to actually like work together to build things properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But overall, I realize this was just covering a quick start, but what do you guys think of Broken Lands?
I mean, I'd love a more in-depth look at some point because it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think okay, two things I think about this. One, the character sheet looks a little fiddly to me on some things. I don't know if I love every aspect of it, but I have overall like, if I'm gonna just from looking at the quick start, my impression is good.
Yes.
Second thing, they have incorporated a system, their fate system, that I've essentially incorporated into Skies of Fortune, where it allows you to work with the DM to make narrative changes to a situation, and that like I could be jealous that they come up with it first, but instead I'm just going to say I'm happy that people who have been doing this for longer had an idea that I also had independently. So yeah, obviously I like that aspect of it. um, and I hope that it has worked for this system. But yeah, like I give this like quick start 4 out of 5,
Mm-hmm.
8 out of 10.
Yep. Uh, for me personally, I think the only thing I could see a potential issue with is guidance regarding certain traits as well as the potential for the min-max thing, but that's something I won't know for certain until I see the full book.
Hmm.
I do appreciate that even with the amount of material there is for casters, marshals aren't getting neglected. There's
Yes.
still
Yeah.
a good amount of action variety for martial characters, and I have a feeling that character creation is going to be point based, which means several things. Since I But one of the bigger things that I'm curious about is the concept of fealty to the different factions and
Hmm.
how that can
Mhm.
benefit you. Basically, there's a lot of potential ways this can go, but this definitely has a Moorcock vibe. I know
Hmm.
they mention Libra and the like, but Moorcock is clearly the dominant inspiration here. Uh,
That
Especially
makes
with
me
the
wonder.
notion of the balance.
Hmm. One of the things that I associate with, Elric of Melnibone is like, issues of addiction and so forth. So I kind of wonder if that's built into the system or not. Probably in their like, what do they call it? Their merits and flaws or their traits, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
that's,
it'll be interesting to see.
I could
Indeed.
see that as a potential trait for those who want the points for that. I don't think it's going to be necessary, because even though this is there's a reason I said this is channeling Moorcock more than I said it was channeling Elric.
Hmm.
'Cause remember, Elric of Melnibone is one incarnation of the Eternal Champion.
Yeah, I guess I don't know that much. I think you know more about the Moorcock lore than I do. So is that something that appears in his other works? Apparently,
Yes. The Eternal Champion is somebody who is the idea of somebody who is incarnate in order to resolve that kind of imbalance. In that way, you could kind of consider them as akin to the Avatar, but without the powers that entails.
Hmm.
I mean, I was about to say that it sounded like you were describing the Avatar.
And just as much describing what the concept of the Avatar is based on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe one of Vishnu's avatars had said that whenever righteousness wanes, that he would come into being, age after age.
Hmm.
That's not the full quote in the Bhagavad Gita, but it's close enough. But really, I think the only thing that I would suggest be looked into, and this may have already been considered, because we are going to be dealing with a translation of a game that's been around for a while, is maybe guidance when it comes to characterization traits, things like the lie and whatnot, because I could see that getting misinterpreted. But I'd have to double check if they advertise that it's going to be classless, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
It does seem that way, since I suspect you could have like a half mage character or something like that if you felt the need to.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how well you can actually gish in this.
I feel like it's going to be based on character points, which in that case, probably relatively easily.
Gosh, now I realize what this is reminding me of, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
What?
Big eyes, small mouth.
I don't see it.
Mostly just the traits, like how with the plus and minus stuff. That's what I was looking at when I saw like old as part of it. And I'm like, what? Huh? Hey?
I assume that in Bessem, old means any age after like 18.
No, that's the word hag.
Yep. But we are going to take a breather for a couple minutes, and then we will be back with Steam Build Riders.
Beautiful.
So, see you in a few, folks. back, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm putting my helmet on and saying back in action.
Yep. So, Steam Build Riders, the Rally Raids, is a lighter RPG as part of Lionwing's Showcase sub-brand. This was actually the Showcase is their streams, but this is not a full-size RPG like, say, Picaresque Roman or Tokyo Conception or the upcoming Where's Blade. Really looking forward to that, by the way. This is an interesting beast because it is trying to do a kind of steampunk wacky races, but it is expressly built for 2 people. It is a duet game with the player being the driver and the GM being the navigator.
Oh, dang. The GM actually is putting you on the rails this time.
And how familiar are you all with rally racing?
Not really.
Break it down for us.
So, you can put most motorsport into 2 distinct categories: point racing and track racing. Point racing is race from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, to try and get more bang for the buck of people who are buying tickets, the idea came up to convert horse racing tracks into motor racing tracks. So people could see the whole track and all of that. That is where where you get the lap-based racing setup.
Drive left.
And point-based racing, the most famous example of this is the Monte Carlo Rally. Because point racing is what's now known as rally racing and is governed by the WRC as far as the biggest rally racing circuit. And there are others, but the general gist is get from one spot to another. One of the more famous illegal forms of this was the Cannonball Run that was done, I believe it was in the 70s, with the idea of any vehicle is liable, because it's an illegal street race. You have to get from New York to LA in as fast as possible.
Which later inspired the Steel Ball Run.
Hey, that's coming out in Netflix in a few weeks. Not to advertise for Netflix, but to advertise for JoJo.
Yeah, the Cannonball Run also got its own movie in the 80s. But and also got a sequel which wasn't quite as good, and a threequel which was even less as good.
Damn. Gotta hate it when the sequels suck.
There are also a couple others like Cannonball and the Gumball Rally, both of them which came out in 1976. The full
And
name
then there was the Wacky Races.
Yeah.
Yuck.
The full name was the Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash.
Now, I think I know an example of this in anime, and that can be summed up in one letter. The initial D.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Oh, those are just street races, not shore to shore.
Initial D is Toge Racing. Which is a form of downhill racing, but it's not the same energy.
Yeah, that has a lot more drifting.
True. A lot more drifting and a lot more you're either the chaser or the chased kind of setup. One of my
lot more Eurobeat.
Yeah. One of my favorite examples of rally racing was actually Rally Group B in the 80s, which was an attempt to try and get some more eyes on rally racing. Because the central idea is the FIA, who also is the governing body for for F1, had rules about what sort of vehicles were liable,
Mm-hmm.
what sort of vehicle not liable, viable, and I think it was you had to sell I think 2,000 copies of that model in a given year. They dropped it down to 300, and that was the main restriction. Everything else was on the table. So you'd have these ridiculously modified versions of cars where the engine is in the middle for weight distribution and the frame is made of aluminum and the thing is both supercharged and turbocharged, which, yes, you can do both.
Yes.
Let me make a prediction. I'm thinking this ends into, not to be too glib, but chunky marinara for a few of the racers.
Yeah. That's what caused the chain of events that led to Group B ending. There was also the fact that they vastly underestimated how popular Group B would get. So they had security protocols, but they weren't enough to contain the large amount of crowds that this was gathering. So there are scenes, if you look up just any footage of Group B races, of whole crowds running out of the way as the cars are passing by.
Oh dear lord.
Yeah, Group B was absolute chaos. But I bring that kind of thing up to help set the tone for what we're dealing with this game. But we do have a foreword that I do want to read off from the designer. Greetings, I'm Haihun, the designer of this TRPG. Thank you for purchasing the English edition of Steam Build Riders. I filled this game with a lot of things I'm big on. A civilization based on Steam, unlike our own. Rally raids kicking up the sands of the untamed desert. Vehicular action with missiles, cannons, and more leading to dramatic crashes. And teams of outlaws with so many screws loose that they'll take on this challenge with a grin on their faces. If you were inspired to get this book because of its wonderful cover, I'm sure you'll understand the appeal of this kind of thing.
Oh. Oh, you were cutting out.
Oh. Now get ready to have a...
Go ahead. I just thought I was going to say I was hearing you okay, but please go ahead.
Oh, it might have been just on my end then. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Get ready to have a blast with the wild and fun stories that Steam Build Writers will help you tell. I never experienced such a self-indulgent work. I never expected such a self-indulgent work as this to make it across the ocean. Please allow those of us here in Japan to express our thanks to Linewing for their hard work on the English edition. If you can find even a little pleasure in the many inspirations I've channeled into making this book, that would make me happier than anything. Now, are you ready to get covered in sand and soot? Do you have the determination to blow away your rivals? If you do, then good luck at the rally.
This feels like a combination of like Fury Road and Twisted Metal.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
But after a bit of a forward, then we have the introduction. As mentioned, this is for 2 players. But the races are essentially endurance rallies held in the wasteland outside the major cities. There's only one rule: cross the wasteland and reach the goal faster than anyone else. And because of that, have either of you seen the movie Redline?
Yes.
Yes.
I get a bit of that vibe. Just not as insane.
Yep. They're not
Are you
going,
saying this can't be that this is insane?
Given what was in that movie, yes.
Fair enough.
In that movie, they basically decide, let's go ahead and make our racetrack across like North Korea.
Mm-mm. But
anyway.
So when it comes to the bare essentials of the setting, we have the tiered city Laminopolis, where there's less electricity. Instead, you have advanced steam tech. Most of the world is covered in a wasteland, the edges of it inhabited by wandering monsters. So we have that points of light kind of setup that I enjoy. On the other hand, the city-states are connected by those who go between them, riders.
Hmm.
And as far as what's needed for play, 2 people or just 1. A set of 6-sided dice, at least 4 per player, which is pretty common for Japanese tabletop, as we've seen. In terms of using 6-sided dice above any other type.
Mm-hmm.
Most are going to be using that, as well as a few sheets: a driver sheet, a navigator sheet, a vehicle sheet, and a rally sheet. Now, as far as making a character, you're either the driver or you're the navigator. These are the 2 roles that are going to be played. One player plays one player plays the other. When you do, you get a skill exclusive to that role. The driver gets top speed maneuvering, which lets you turn a control check into a critical, though only once per scenario. And the navigator gets more than just shooting. So, why am I thinking of Mario Kart Double Dash?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The navigator is in charge of monitoring the vehicle's surroundings and charting the course ahead. They'll also be the one who uses weapons.
Cool. Get
Yay,
those red
weapons.
pills out.
Mm-hmm. So when making a character, first you're choosing a profession, i.e. what they do to earn a living. There aren't many who can earn a living solely on what they earn from being a writer. Then choosing a motivation, i.e. why you became and still are a writer. How you feel about your partner. Then your focus, something you refuse to compromise on when it comes to the vehicle you ride in. And then bringing the character to life. When it comes to creating a vehicle, this is of course the vehicle that's going to be shared between between the driver and navigator. You would first choose a frame and then copy its data. So we have light frames, medium frames, and heavy frames, each having a different die setup for speed checks, a control failure penalty, and durability. After that, you choose your starting parts. Parts fall into 3 categories: tires, gears, and weapons. You roll on the table to equip a randomly chosen part. After rolling a part, you put it on the owned parts. So tires are, of course, your wheels, though it could be non-tires. It could be tank treads.
Tank police.
Cool.
Yep. Which
And it feels like the randomness feels like this is just what you're able to scavenge from the wastes,
Mm-hmm.
or from the junkyards of the city. I like that.
Yep. Now your gear is extra parts that do things like increase speed or durability. These grant the driver skills that you can use. So we have things like extra armor, rocket boosters, maneuvering thrusters, and
Yay,
spare
rockets.
explosives. And of course, weapons. So let's see. We have a missile
Pile
launcher,
bunker?
a machine gun, a cannon, a drill, a pile bunker, and a high pressure flamer.
Ooh, give me the
Brother,
drill.
get
I
the
want to make
flavor.
I want to make the Gurren Lagann.
Uh, let's see. And it looks like each of them has their own attack table that determines the result based on a set of d6s. So and we have 2 that are anti-vehicle, 2 that are anti-terrain, and 2 that are anti-monster.
Al Bunker's gonna impale them monsters.
And then choosing your vehicle's name, color, etc. You can choose that on your own, or if you're pressed for time, we have a randomizer set up, which...
I guess. Gotta
Well,
love the super crystal shield purple.
Yeah. Just, red, 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 red. Because red ones go faster. And that's not a good orc impression. Can someone do better? Someone can probably do better.
Yeah, not me though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But after that, we get into the game flow, which consists of the following state phases. Preparation, i.e. where you're going to be playing. And it says like renting a karaoke booth. This is, from what I understand, fairly common with Japanese tabletop.
Yeah, it makes sense. You got the table there. You can order snacks. You have to pay.
I mean, that makes me think that a session doesn't last very long.
This is a very beer and pretzels kind of game. So
It does seem that way.
That wouldn't surprise me. Then you have the opening phase, which illustrates the daily life of your riders. So the days before the rally actually happens. Then the city phase, where you're scouring the city in which you live for parts that might give you an edge in the upcoming rally. Then the tune-up phase, using the parts gathered to customize the vehicle, and how you get it ready to take on the rally. Then the rally phase itself, your vehicle's as good as it'll get, and now it's time for the rally. So the driver is trying to get to the road through the road ahead, and the navigator is fending off anyone trying to stop the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the ending phase, showing what happened once the rally was over. And finally, the navigator's role. The navigator is both handling the weapons and is also the GM, essentially.
Again, the joke of GM actually wanting to put you on the rails this time.
Let's see. Preparation phase is exactly what you'd expect. When it comes to the opening phase, you can roleplay the first meeting. If you need a bit of a boost, we have a random meeting table.
Get ready for boost.
Or if they're old partners on a new adventure, we have the daily life table to help that out for inspiration. Then the city phase. You choose an events table and roll the dice. Find out what kind of scene is going to happen. You pick one of the event tables and make a random choice from it. Each of the 3 tables leads to different sorts of events and is most likely to get you a different kind of part. So, for example, shopping for parts likely is going to get you tires.
I like how 4 of these is get tires. One of them is gear and the other's weapons.
Then then playing out the scene and acquiring a part corresponding to the scene you did. If you roll an identical part that you already own, roll again on the same part table.
Okay, so there's no way you can get like 3 sets of tires and just be like, well, we're screwed.
Yep. So the 3 event tables we have are normal, outlaw, and actually both table 2 and 3 are outlaw. Now, after you've repeated the above steps 3 times, the city phase ends. Make sure you mark down a total of 3 parts that you didn't have before and continue to the next phase. Then you get to the tune-up phase, where you're going into what happens the night before the rally. First, choosing which parts to use. You should have gotten 3 new parts during the city phase. So you decide whether you're going to swap any of your starting parts out for them before you take on the rally. You can only equip 1 tire, 1 gear, and 2 weapon parts. Once you've made the choices, you'd write down the parts you chose in the equipped parts section of the sheet. Then when it comes to the rally phase, once, as mentioned, this is the main event. The rally is a 1,000-kilometer race through a desert racked with sandstorms, dodging gunfire of your rivals, and possibly monsters as well. So
Cool.
during the rally phase, the game takes place in rounds. During each round, the 2 of you will play out various events and cover distance to see how much closer you and your vehicle are to the goal. As this happens, you use the rally sheet to keep track of the situation. The objective of the rally phase is to cover the distance faster than your rival and be the first team to reach the goal. Each round lasts for an hour of in-game time, but that can be changed for roleplay purposes. And of course, you do have a rival to be concerned with as well. Since it's not just your vehicle that's advancing, but rivals as well. But in this game, the only rival that will also cover distance is the one fighting with you for first place. Which is smart. If you're dealing with a game that's this focused on duet play, having multiple rivals would actually be a bad idea.
Yep.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't turn this into a video game of some kind. Or an anime.
Well,
There's-
let's see.
The Japanese tabletop scene is not one where crossover to video game or anime happens all that often.
You know, I could see something like maybe a board game coming out of this.
I mean, a
Um,
board game, yes, but I could also like see like a digital version of this where people could actually like set up teams and go up against each other.
Oh. Well, as far as a board game, we already have that. It's called Car Wars. As well as Thunder Road. Which have been around for a while.
Have I played Thunder Road? I think I might have.
Thunder Road and the lightning strike. Sorry.
Oh, not you, Bruce Springsteen.
But then we do have a flowchart for the rally phase. First, you'd roll on the happenings table, then make a speed check, where you choose your target speed, roll dice to find your speed modifier, sum up your target speed and speed modifier to get your final speed. Then make a control check, first determining the difficulty, then rolling the control dice to see whether you pass or fail. Find out the round distance, then cover that distance. If the control check failed, you lose 20 durability. Then the weapons check. You pick which weapon to use. Roll as indicated by the attack table and get your result. Apply any modifiers to the result to see whether you succeeded. Then other vehicle covers distance. roll 4d6 and apply modifiers from happenings. Then the distance and durability check. You check your vehicle's durability and see if you've covered a distance of 1,000 or more. If you haven't covered the goal, on to the next round. And it's a thing where
Sorry.
phases 1, 4, 5, and 6 are handled by the navigator. Phases 2 and 3 are handled by the driver. As mentioned, first is happenings. You roll 2d6 and check the table. Which is going to have certain effects for it. As you progress through the round, ensure that you understand the happening you rolled. Sometimes you'll aim for a high check result to avoid a penalty, and other times you'll strive to win a prize. But then the speed check. First, you choose your target's speed. This is the speed the driver is aiming for during the round. The speeds you can select are 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, and 160. Then roll your dice to determine your speed modifier. This is reflecting of the performance of your engine for the round. So the number of die you roll for this depends on your vehicle's frame. So that is going to add either plus 60 or minus 60 to the speed. And of course, target speed and speed modifier gets you your final speed. This will impact the control check to determine how much distance you cover. So with the control check, you'd first figure out the difficulty number. If your final speed is 0, you don't cover any distance, regardless of what you might roll for control check. But the difficulty is what you need to beat with your dice roll in order to succeed at the check. You do get a modifier to this based on your final speed. The base difficulty is 5. Then, based on your final speed, you add a control modifier, which is going to range from -5 to +5. To make a control check, you roll 2d6. The happening or your equipped parts may alter the result. Once you have that, this is your check result. If it is equal or greater than the difficulty, you succeed. If you roll boxcars, you automatically succeed, and the attack check you're doing in the next round gets a +20. But after that is finding out the round distance. So if the control check is successful, your round distance is your final speed, adjusted from any modifiers from parts and happenings. If it fails, you take your final speed, apply any modifiers, and then divide it by the control failure penalty determined by your vehicle's frame. And we saw that the heavier vehicles have a higher control penalty.
Yeah.
I think the heaviest was a 4, so that if you fail, you're only getting 1/4 the amount of speed.
Ugh.
On the
Don't
other
love
hand,
that.
heavier vehicles have more durability.
There is that.
Take more hits from those monsters.
Tank more hits from the opponent's weapons.
Indeed.
Now, if the control check failed, you lose 20 durability. But after that is the weapons check, where you're using weapons to clear away obstacles indicated by the happenings table. First, you would choose a weapon. Depending on which parts you gathered during the city phase, you could have 2 weapons equipped. If you do, you have to choose which one you're going to be using, and use the attack table for that weapon and the current happening. So you consult the attack table and make the check. Different weapons roll different amounts of dice. You'd roll these dice and determine what check result is by comparing the roll in the attack table. Each weapon has a specialty. If that matches the one on the happenings table, you double the check result. And if you roll boxcars, that's a crit, in which case you automatically succeed and can add 50 to your total distance. And then apply modifiers to the check result to find out whether or not you succeeded. So, now, as far as the difficulty for the weapons check, that is going to be based on what happening you rolled at the start. And afterwards, other vehicles cover distance. So you'd roll 4d6 and apply modifiers from the current happening. So 4d6 times 10, that's the round distance for your rival. The happening that they roll may increase or decrease the round distance. And once that's done, then you have the distance and durability check. So your vehicle's durability indicates its condition. If at this point in the round your vehicle's durability is 0, reset it to 50, or your maximum durability if it's lower than that. However, during the next round, you must skip the first 4 steps. All you can do during that round is have the rival vehicle cover distance. But the main thing...
that sounds like... So I was just going to say, it just sounds like that represents you fixing things up a little bit.
Yep. Now, if any vehicle has 1,000 total distance, they've reached the goal. So obviously, if your rival reaches the goal, then you lose. Then you didn't get first place in the rally. If otherwise, you did. And after that is the ending phase, where you roleplay the outcome of the rally. And after the rally ends, you end up visiting the workshop, which you restore your vehicle to maximum durability, no matter how much damage it took. You make a damage check, since there's the possibility that equipped parts got damaged during the rally. For this, for each of your equipped parts, you roll 1d6. If you roll a 1 to 3, that part is damaged. You erase it from equipped parts, and you can instead equip a different parts from your own parts in its place.
Oh.
And you also have to erase any owned parts that you don't have equipped, because rallies are expensive, and riders can't afford to hold on to parts that they aren't using. You'll have to sell any parts that you don't need to put away money for the next rally. If you won a rally, you get an award. During the next session, if you don't like your dice rolls on the events table or parts table during the city phase, you can re-roll a number of times equal to how many awards you have. For example, if you have 1 award, you can re-roll one of the 6 rolls you'll make during the city phase exactly once. Riders who have already won a rally generally have an easier time getting the exact parts you want. Once you've earned a reward, it's yours forever. You can keep using it no matter how many sessions you play. And once you've done all the above steps, the session is over. And that's pretty much how the mechanics work. And The remaining bit is going into the city itself. Though I appreciate that they didn't make a full map of it because I think that would kind of distract from the point. But instead focus more on important places, important people and places. That's something a bit more common I've seen in some of the Japanese tabletop I've covered here.
I do like that.
Mhm.
It's a nice little bit of world building.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there are further ways to customize settings.
Mm-hmm.
Such as advice on creating your own happenings, not making checks too difficult, giving both the driver and navigator things to do. If you so choose, you could alter the course length. Instead of it being 1,000, change it to 500 or 1,500. I feel like a distance of 1,500 would be the equivalent of doing the Monte Carlo rally, or even worse, doing Le Mans. Because remember, Le Mans is a 24-hour race.
Mhm.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and imagine doing it back in the day when there wasn't reliable lighting.
Or energy drinks.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want the full extent of how much of a nightmare Le Mans is, and just want a quick glance at it, go watch Ford v Ferrari,
Oh
or
gosh.
or watch that movie anyways. That movie was great.
Who was in that? That was Brad Pitt, right?
Um, was Affleck?
It was
No,
Affleck.
no, it
Okay.
wasn't Affleck. It was Damon. I don't know why I get those two crosswired in my head.
Well, they're buddies and they're both from Boston, so there you go.
Mm. Uh, but you can change the flavor of the story if you so choose. And it does give a few examples on that, as well as changing the daily life and events table on that. So the customization isn't additional rules, but rather advice on shifting things. I do appreciate the guidelines being set up. But then we have solo mode with Machina Tamer, a mode in Steam Build Writers where you play it by yourself in what's sometimes referred to as a solo journaling game. In this mode, you are both the driver and a Machina Tamer, while your partner, the navigator, is an automaton. Because of that, it has a slightly different take on the setting of Steam Build Writers. So with the character and vehicle section, you make a human driver, the automaton is your navigator, and the vehicle you'll be riding in.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Knight Rider thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum.
You would create the driver as you normally would, but when you reach the how you feel about your partner, you can choose a different table for that, as well as an extra step about why you're a Machina Tamer, with its own inspiration table. Now, when it comes to the navigator, you'd first choose a type, then an origin, i.e., how did the driver meet the navigator, then the strength, as well as a weakness, and obviously the name, and you're making a vehicle the same way. And when it comes to the game flow, it largely works the same. It's just that the driver is doing all of the work. There is an extra rule for automaton action results. If you want to add a bit of randomness to their action, so you have 6 somethings. It's more of an inspiration thing. And in that same vein, there's a Machina variant of the daily life table. If you want, City and Tune-Up works the same way. With Rally, as mentioned, the driver is doing all of the phases. Of course, with the ending phase, automaton damage is going to work differently. It just means you either did no damage if you rolled a 1, or worst case scenario, you can choose the 7 if you wish that the automaton was the subject of critical damage and no longer functions. And of course, afterwards, you still visit the workshop. And the last part is a index as well as a afterword on the game itself. And that more or less covers Steam build writers. So, as far as being a very beer and pretzels meant to be done in one session kind of game, I do think it fulfills that goal. It clearly has a design goal in mind, and it is single-mindedly dedicated to that design goal and nothing else.
Yeah, agreed. If you and your buddy, like, I can see this happening, like, where you have a game session and you and your friend showed up, then everybody else canceled, and you've got nothing else to do. Pull this out, have a good evening with your buddy playing this game, and it'll keep it going. Or if you are really into the idea of this sort of battle royale or this demolition derby slash drag race, I could see going out of your way to play it. I would give it a try if I had some spare time.
I mean, I definitely would want to give the solo version a shot just to get a feel for it before I actually invite someone to it.
Sure. Yeah, like that might be a good way for the navigator to train themselves too. To just do the solo play. That way, when you go to do the group play, you can just have the next person be the driver.
What I do like that's present here is how focused everything is.
Yes.
Like, there isn't any part that I saw that was wasted or is just there for the sake of someone's idea of role play or verisimilitude or whatever the buzzword of the week is for the grogs. No, it is hell-bent on one particular thing that it wants to do, and everything that's in here is focused on doing that, and that's it. And I appreciate that dedication.
Sometimes that is what you need. Just focus on the race, the road ahead of you.
Yep. Because everything else is just like between the two players, like the RP sections, because they could just as easily just roll the dice, see what they get, and then just go straight into play.
Mm-mm. And
Mhm.
that certainly helps the nature of this being a very beer and pretzels game. I could see this game being played through in a single session in less than an hour. In that regard, I could easily see myself breaking this out at cons.
Hmm.
Especially
Yeah, on the back of the book, on the back of the book, it says playtime 30 to 60 minutes. So, yeah.
So just enough time for you to, have pay for a session or two of karaoke.
Yep.
Anyway,
yeah.
unfortunately, I do need to get going. This ran a little longer than I thought it would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
probably need.
But with that said, that's where we'll wrap it up for this one. I'd highly recommend both of these projects get a look.
Definitely.
We will be back here
Okay.
next week with more of Oka Hoshin. And of course,
Yeah, Okahoshi.
tomorrow, unless I freeze, I will be wrapping up the look at Magic Punk with Sig and Tabby. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
Oh, come on, Mildred. How can you freeze? Your temple's already at the top of a mountain.
There are ways. And Neff's going, ice, monk. God damn it.
There are ways of making you freeze.
But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I mean, Monk's definitely got